We are so excited to have you all here. We're looking to have a good time. I'm waving to everyone. I'm Chanel Brandon, and I am the Secretary for Healthy Living with a Vision Foundation. And this is part two of the second week of our 28-day plant-based challenge. So we're going to get started in a few seconds here. Good evening, everyone. Again, my name is Chanel Brandon, and I'm the Secretary of Healthy Living with a Vision Foundation. And we are so glad that you took the opportunity this evening to get on our second week of our 28-day plant-based challenge. Tonight, you all are in for a treat. Last week was phenomenal with Dr. Thompson kicking us off, and he's going to speak a little bit about what he spoke about in remarks on last week. And then I'll get a chance to tell you about our speaker tonight, Dr. Ansel Johnson, the CEO of Healthy Living with a Vision. So we have some exciting stuff. So Dr. Thompson, why don't you give us a little bit of a feedback from last week?
Yes, I'd like to welcome everybody back. I'm just going to give you a connection between this week and last week. So if you've been following along with the 28-day Kickstart, by now you should have your list of 15 healthy whole food items, a VIP guest list for your plate. From this list, you've hopefully started adding at least one additional serving to your daily menu. Now notice I said daily menu. I did not say to your daily or to your single meal. Let's not get too ambitious yet. If you were already averaging, say, 3 servings of fruits or veggies per day, your mission was to bump it up to 4. And that would be by fitting in one additional serving of a plant-based food each day. Think of it like a gentle nudge toward plant-based greatness, not a full-blown veggie invasion. Now, what's the beauty of this stage? We're practicing subtraction by addition. Translation, you're not cutting anything out. You're not cutting anything out of your diet at this point. You're just inviting more plants to the party. Easy, right? No drama, no deprivation, no starvation. Just more fiber and goodness sneaking its way onto your plate. Next week, we'll be kicking things up a notch, though. On Monday, you'll add another serving of a whole food plant-based selection from your list. And here's where things get spicy. We're going to be encouraging you to try a meatless day of the week. And why not kick it off with Meatless Monday? But you can choose your own day. But that starts next week. Think of your meatless day as being that day where you're going to give your digestive system a day off digesting animal flesh. And just feast away on plants. By the time we meet for the final Tuesday, you'll be feeling so fabulously fiber fueled, you won't have as much problem stepping away from those red zone foods that you probably should not be hanging out with very often. It'll feel more like a natural progression. Fiber is your new best friend. So it can keep you full, keep you happy and on track without a whole lot of effort. So keep it up and let's make this next week another step towards fearless plant-powered living. I'm going to come back at you a little later with the tip of the week, and I will pass the baton back to our capable MC, Chanel.
Thanks, Dr. Thompson. I know you mentioned Meatless Mondays. I'm going to try Lentil Taco Tuesday.
All right.
So, anybody want to join me? I'll put that recipe into our chat box. But tacos are really, really good for you too. So we'll talk more about that a little later. But without further ado, let me tell you a little bit about Dr. Ansel Johnson. Dr. Ansel Johnson is the founder and clinical director of Vision Salon Eye Care Associates in Blue Island, Illinois. He received his bachelor's degree in biology from Illinois Wesleyan University in Bloomington, Illinois, and a doctorate degree from the 4-year Doctor of Optometry program at the New England College of Optometry in Boston, Massachusetts. He has completed a postgraduate certificate from the Optometry Executive Program at the Wharton School of Business at the University of Pennsylvania. And also, as I stated before, he is the CEO of Healthy Living with a Vision Foundation, of whom Dr. Thompson and myself and some of my other board of directors that I see on here are proud members of. So, without further ado, on the topic of benefits of plant-based eating for healthy vision, I give you Dr. Johnson.
Hello, everybody. How's everyone doing today? Well, first, giving honor to God, who's the head of my life. I think it's always a blessing to speak to people about some things that I'm very passionate about in terms of eye care. And Dr. Thompson gave such, and thank you, Chanel, for that wonderful introduction. You know, she is my hype person, not hype man, but hype person. So she tags along with me in these presentations. So I want to, first of all, thank Dr. Thompson also, because he gave a phenomenal presentation last week. But this, to come after what he did last week, I had to call in some reinforcements. The title of this presentation is Eat Your Way to Clear Vision and the Power of Plants for Eye Health. And we talk to patients every day, not only about which is better, one or two, can you see, here's some glasses or contacts, but we connect the dots between their eye health and their overall health. And that's something I'm very, very passionate about, because eye care in this country has become so transactional. And I want to bring that connection back. And but like I said, I had to call in some reinforcements for this. And one, I want to recognize two of the most powerful women in eye care. And I say that without hesitation, to present some and help me with this presentation. Dr. Millicent Knight, who is from the Chicago area. She's retired senior vice president and medical and professional affairs at EssilorLuxottica. She has expertise in product launching and professional education and training. She is retired now, but that's just the next step in her life, in her profession, and she's very passionate about nutrition. And I also have our newly elected president, Dr. Dorothy Hitchmont, who hails from the great state of New Hampshire. She is the current president of the Ocular Wellness and Nutrition Society. She's in private practice, but she is a high-powered medical and science consultant in the eye care industry. So these are two people that are close to my heart. We see each other professionally at meetings and we hobnob, and they are passionate about ocular wellness and nutrition. And then I also want to talk about, in addition to Healthy Living with the Vision Foundation, Dr. Hitchmont and I, she is the president, our newly elected president, but I am also on the board of the Ocular Wellness and Nutrition Society. And we are basically a science-based organization of eye care providers and other health professionals that also connect the dots between your ocular wellness and your nutrition. And first of all, some quick disclaimers here. I also want to remind people that the information that we provide in this presentation is based on the knowledge and expertise of us presenters, and it is intended for general information purposes only. So this should not be considered personalized medical advice. It's not a substitute for a direct consultation with your healthcare provider. But again, take it under advisement and always do your own research. And so any of our recommendations or suggestions are general in nature and may not be applicable to every individual. So always, again, consult your healthcare professional. And then we do not assume any liability, nor does Healthy Living with the Vision Foundation or Ocular Wellness Nutrition Society for any of the information that's presented in this presentation. However, I have to say that it is all science-based, and but reliance on it is at your own discretion and risk. So those are the legal things we have to say. But we are going to have some period of time for everyone to get their individual questions answered, and we will do the best we can to do this. Now, these are some concepts. These are two words: salutogenesis versus pathogenesis. Now, once you understand these two terms, you will probably have a better handle on them than most of your physicians do, because this is some terminology that I have to say that my colleague, Dr. Leonidas Johnson, brought up to me. And he is also an optometrist, a colleague who went to college with. And our intern, Correct Gill, who actually did a little research and dug into this, salutogenesis versus pathogenesis. And this is a concept by a scientist, a Jewish scientist by the name of Aaron Antonovsky. And what is salutogenesis? Basically, it's to study the origin of health. And it focuses on factors that support our basic human health and well-being. Whereas other factors, pathogenesis focuses on disease and how do we fix diseases and things of that nature. Well, we want to know what causes health. What causes health versus what causes diseases. And this is in such alignment of what we do at Healthy Living with a Vision, helping people to live their fullest, healthiest way. And again, he had the question, what makes people healthy? So the focus on what he found, the overall health, the problem of active adaptation to the environment, and how do we adapt to different stressors that are in society. And what he found is having resources, being conscious about your resources, having the ability to use these resources can counter these stresses that we have in life and avoid disease and avoid the breakdown. And so how did he study this? He looked at people that survived the Holocaust, during the Holocaust, and that most of these people did not do well with their general health. But there was about a third of these individuals, these Holocaust survivors, that did not just survive, but they thrived. And so this is a journey that he investigated and find what made this group of people thrive. And think about the big parallels between this and those of us that are ancestors that survived chattel slavery. There are a lot of us that are just surviving, but we know that there are those of us that are thriving. So again, this is really close to my heart, and I became more passionate about it. And every continuing education course that I teach to doctors, I'm going to bring these two terms up. And that's how we're going to communicate with our patients to get them to thrive. And so what's our role as optometrists? Well, we're primary care doctors, where our goal is to enhance and preserve vision. But we have a duty to also promote wellness holistically. And as I say every day, connect the dots between your eye health and your overall health. And so I want to review kind of the basic anatomy, because a lot of people don't understand the basic anatomy of the eye. And then how is that connected to nutrition? Well, the cornea, the front surface of the eye, which is the first place that light hits, gets bent and focused into the back of the eye. Well, vitamin C is a benefit for that. You have the lens inside the eye here that focuses light more precisely to the back of the eye. And that lens is helped by these nutrients called lutein, zeaxanthin, and vitamin C. Now, the vitreous, that jelly-like substance in the middle, that reddish pinkish area, the actual eyeball is actually hollow and is filled with a fluid, a jelly-like fluid that's called the vitreous. And that is helped by and nourished by vitamin C, plus a ton of other nutrients. So this is a pretty simplistic illustration, but I want people to understand the anatomy, basic anatomy of the eye. So it can kind of help you visualize how these nutritional supplements can help. And then the macula, this is the darkest part of the eye, the most highly pigment area of the eye where light is focused. And this area is nourished by lutein and zeaxanthin and some other things. And this is the area that is affected by a condition called macular degeneration. The lens of the eye, that's the area that's affected by cataracts. And then the last area, the retina, that's the inner layer of the eyeball. That's the inner layer of the eyeball, the back wall of the eyeball that I tell people, that has all the blood vessels and all the nerve fibers that collect the light and then send it out the optic nerve, that little yellow thing coming out the back of the eyeball. And that's nourished by vitamin C, vitamin E, beta carotenes, omega-3 fatty acids, and a number of other things. So that's the basic anatomy. And so how does that relate to some of our most common threats to sight? And then we're going to relate that to the power plants and nutrients. One is diabetic retinopathy, which is a disease of the back wall of the eyeball, the most common cause of vision impairment and blindness from living with diabetes. We have glaucoma, which is a disease of the nerve fibers in the eye, where you get a slow degeneration of the nerves in the back of the eyes that can cause not blurred vision until the disease has been onset for many years, but a slow loss of your peripheral or your side vision. And then cataracts, which is a clouding of the lens, that camera lens inside the eye, right behind the pupil. And then the last one, age-related macular degeneration, where it's like an normal, not normal, but an age-related change to the tissues of the back of the eyes. And it's analogous to your skin as time goes on. It's not always supple, but you can get wrinkles and age spots. Well, the same sort of changes in pigment can happen to the back wall of the eyeball that we call the retina in that illustration. So we're going to tackle each one by one, and then talk about the nutritional supplements that connect with that and in our diet. So these are different pictures of various stages of what we call diabetic retinopathy, or damage to the back of the eyes that happen and progress with poorly controlled or uncontrolled diabetes. Where the picture on the left, you might see some little small red dots. Those are actual hemorrhages in the back of the eyes, progressing to where you have significant hemorrhages and blood vessel growth, abnormal blood vessel growth. And one thing I remind people about, you can have significant bleeding and swelling in the back of the eyes and not see it until it seems like all of a sudden you have a blood vessel breaking, bleeding inside the eye, when this has been happening all along. And so you have nutritional supplements like curcumin, which is anti-inflammatory, because this retinopathy is an inflammatory response to living with diabetes. You need antioxidants that help regulate the blood sugar in the body, and that happens through a plant-based diet. You have lutein and zeaxanthin, and meso is actually formed by the first two, is formed within the body, not by external supplements. But lutein and zeaxanthin are critical for good color vision and night vision and a number of other things. So some examples of foods that help these, that contain these ingredients: spinach, broccoli, pistachios, pumpkin seeds, and turmeric. And some of my experts will talk a little bit more about those things. And then glaucoma, which as I mentioned, is damage to the nerve in the back of the eyes. That's the back wall, the retina, and the macula that's affected by glaucoma. You have lutein, zeaxanthin, mesozeaxanthin, zinc, vitamin A, curcumin, which is turmeric. And these are foods: spinach, broccoli, pistachios, pumpkin seeds, turmeric. And so you're going to start hearing a common theme about some of these supplements, hearing them a number of different times, that are very essential and beneficial to our health of the eye and maintaining good vision. The optic nerve, which carries a light signal from the eye to the brain. Vitamin B12 is important. Again, plant-based sources of those are fortified cereals, omega-3s, curcumin, again, anti-inflammatory. And it's been shown scientifically to help treat some of the neurodegeneration that causes glaucoma. And then foods like flaxseed oil, nutritional yeast, and again, turmeric. And again, we come into cataracts. That clear lens, in this case, is not clear, right behind the pupil of the eye, that cloudiness, that haziness. And then you need heavy antioxidant properties in things like vitamin C, vitamin E, to help slow down that progression. And I also want to mention that diabetes, the fluctuating blood sugar that you have in diabetes, can cause this cataracts, this clouding, to occur more rapidly. So again, we're relating all of this to a plant-based diet that can help our systemic conditions that manifest in the eye. And then again, we have age-related macular degeneration. So for many, many years, we would tell our patients, well, there's nothing you can do. You're gonna grow older, and it's just an aging change that some people have. But now we know from scientifically proven information that lutein, zeaxanthin are very critical in helping slow that process down or stabilize it, and the importance of antioxidants like vitamin C, vitamin E, and zinc. And by anti-VEGF properties, when people have bleeding and swelling in the back of the eye, which you can get from age-related macular degeneration and diabetes. We refer these patients to retinal specialists and get injections with anti-VEGF medications. Well, there are different plant sources that have these same properties that if we fulfill them in our diet can help slow this process down. And in so many cases, avoid people having to get injections in the eye. Now, the lutein and zeaxanthin, they fall under the category of carotenoids. And these are basically pigments that are shown to actually enhance contrast sensitivity, darks versus light. Visual acuity is basically how clear we can see. They enhance color vision, and they act as a natural blue light filter. And they also slow down and help reduce cataract formation. Now, again, let's look at lutein and zeaxanthin, these carotenoids, and we're going to look at which food groups, which foods have the most of these products. So we're looking at kale, spinach, broccoli, zucchini, pistachios. Well, kale has the highest concentration in terms of plant-based for lutein and zeaxanthin. Spinach, Swiss chard, which are basically the tops of beets. I had to look that up because I don't cook. Mustard greens, turnip greens, collards, all that stuff that grandma used to cook for us, rich in these carotenoids that give us better color vision, contrast sensitivity, and help preserve our vision. And then dry eye, I didn't mention dry eye as a source of vision impairment, but dry eyes, a lot of times with diabetes, people have dry eyes. With autoimmune diseases, people have dry eyes. But omega-3 fatty acids from plant sources like flax seeds and walnuts can actually help, and I recommend them a lot of times with people that have dry eyes. And then there's some anti-inflammatory effects of curcumin. Again, flaxseed oil, again, is rich in alpha liponoleic acid, and again, it's an essential omega-3 fatty acid, and also supports tear production, and of course, again, reduces inflammation. A lot of times you have dry eyes because of inflamed tear glands. And again, I'm not going to go through these individual things, but as you can understand, turmeric or curcumin is huge benefit to our own well-being. And I drink these little health drinks, and if I see curcumin in it, I'm usually going to get it. Now, this is where I need a little help, because can supplements make sense? We're talking about a plant-based diet, but we know sometimes people do not always get the correct amount of supplements that we need from our foods. One of the reasons is that our foods are not as rich in these nutrients. And over time, this is a study that was done from 1950 to 1999, how we have a 9% decrease in phosphorus, 15% decrease in iron, decrease in calcium, vitamin C, and vitamin B2, just over the years from over farming. So there may be a lot of cases where supplements will make sense. And I'm going to call in Dr. Hitchmont here, and then she's going to kind of talk about some studies and some supplements and what to look for and things of that nature. So Dr. Hitchmont, can you take it away?
Sure, yeah, thank you. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to share information. And, eye docs talk about nutrition a lot. And I think one of the reasons that we talk about nutrition, perhaps more than some other doctors or specialties, in my opinion, is because of a group of studies that has been ongoing for the last 30 years, my entire practice tenure. And that is the age-related eye disease studies. And I say studies because there are multiple studies from the original funding that have been published over many years. And one clear thing that we have learned on the scientific side, in very rigid, very regimented studies, is that nutrition matters in the prevention of vision loss. In the ARED studies, which was specifically looking at age-related macular degeneration, it was discovered that specific nutrients can delay the onset of the condition. It can improve your vision prognosis, but we also learned other things over those decades. We learned that those same nutrients are healthy for your brain, they're healthy for your heart, and they extend your life and they extend quality of life. So when your eye doc says you need to go eat these foods, you should listen.
Mhm.
When Dr. Thompson said at the beginning of this session, and I wish I had heard his other session, you know, it's really important to incorporate at least one healthy food, one plant into your diet that you didn't have in your diet before. And literally the reason and the importance of that will save your vision. It will save your life. So that's a powerful, powerful message that we have. And so I talk about food all day long. And, you know, Dr. Ansel said something about the quality of our food and the nutrient content in our food. And it just so happened to have a cousin who has a PhD in soil science. He still runs our family farm, which is in Massachusetts, and is one of the only farms in the Boston area that is still run in what I call permaculture fashion, where they work really, really hard to keep the nutrients in the soil. And I think that you're going to see that permaculture craze, I'll call it craze now, come back. But in the meantime, most people need to supplement because they don't eat the foods that they probably should be eating in the quantity that they should be eating them. And the quality of our food, unfortunately, is not what it used to be. So in the ARED studies, we talk a lot about, I'm going to talk specifically about 2 nutrients because I think I want to keep it simple. And that is, even though there are multiple nutrients in the ARED studies, the ones that I like people to pay attention to are lutein and zeaxanthin. Those are plant pigments, right? So we get those nutrients that help save vision, improve your brain health, your heart health, and extend life from plants. And the plants that are high in concentration in those nutrients include things like pistachios, red peppers, all of the greens, berries, any darkly or brightly colored fruit or vegetable. So when you go into the grocery store, just look for the dark, bright colors, and you're going to be extending your life. Eat 1 or 2 of them or add it to your diet, you're going to be extending your life. You're going to be potentially saving your vision. In the absence of that activity, you want to really make sure that you supplement if you don't think you're getting what you need, which is probably most of us. So I tell people, talk to your healthcare provider about what supplements you should be specifically and individually taking, because there are interactions between medications and vitamins. There are interactions between some supplements and other supplements. You can take too much of something. I've had patients come into my office on way too many B vitamins, way too much ashwagandha. Like I could go on down the list because there's a lot of junk on the internet and there's a lot of official sounding stuff. So talk to your doctor, have a discussion that considers what your health conditions are, to include kidney function, heart function, right? Because you can overdo it with supplements if you're on a lot of medications.
Yeah.
And I also encourage people to look for third-party testing. So I use a product called Consumer Lab. I actually pay the annual subscription. Some docs will pay the annual subscription. And you can literally go into Consumer Labs. You can type in the name of your supplement, and that supplement, if it's there, that's great. That means it's been tested. And you can see what is the quality of that supplement. Does it have in it what it's supposed to have in it? Is it in the quantity that they promise, and perhaps that your doc has recommended? I'm not going to talk about any specific brands, but I would say be very careful where you purchase your supplements from. Healthcare providers are a great resource. Well-known consumer storefronts are still typically safe. Talk to people in the vitamin industry if you can. Also, avoid just randomly buying from the internet. If there's a brand and they promise that, you know, they're going to sell you something and the price looks too good and the cure looks inevitable, you might want to steer clear of that, no matter how official it looks, even if there's someone wearing a white coat saying, hey, did you know, right? I mean, I've seen every crazy thing out there. And as eye docs, we even have our own sort of internal social media platforms where like, hey, did you see this crazy stuff that's going around the internet? Don't put this in your eye. Don't eat this and don't take that. So anyway, those are just some general principles, I think, in choosing your supplement. I would also encourage you to see an eye doctor, as you can imagine, who is a member of the Ocular Wellness and Nutrition Society. We are a group of docs that integrate holistic care, which includes supplements and other healthy living activities into our recommendations for our patients. So I'll leave it at that. And it's just been great to be able to be here, and I can't wait to see what you guys do in your next session. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. And Dr. Hitchmark came kind of last minute invitation, but I said, as you could tell, she is a very knowledgeable and powerful, and she has made this a truly nationwide presentation. We went to the same school of optometry, and she is from New Hampshire. So that's where she practices now. So between Dr. Thompson in California and Dr. Hitchmark in New Hampshire, truly nationwide. And this is going to keep growing. It gets gooder and gooder. And it's going to get gooder here because now I'm going to introduce Dr. Millicent Knight, who's going to kind of connect the dots again with some tips on what can I cook, what to look for when I'm shopping. And she is phenomenal in terms of nutrition and advice. And because I don't cook, so that's why I said one of the reasons I had to get a little extra help here. And so I'm going to turn this over to Dr. Millicent Knight out of Texas now, via Chicago.
Via Chicago, exactly. Thanks, Dr. Johnson. Thanks, Dr. Hitchmark. And I certainly enjoyed Dr. Thompson's lecture last week and look forward to his new book coming out. Dr. Johnson and I go back many, many, many years. I won't say how many, but the things that you've asked me to chime in on, and I hope that we have a little time afterwards in case there are questions and we can get into a little dialogue, that would be great. I want to start first by saying when you go to the grocery store, just so that you know, the only real food in the grocery store is around the periphery of the store. I'm going to say that one more time. The real food, whole food, is located along the periphery of the store. And the next time you go to the store, take a look around and you'll see exactly what I mean. Fresh foods, whether they are vegetables, fruits, meats, they're all around the periphery of the store. Everything else is boxed and probably not the best from a nutritional content perspective. I wanted to share a couple of things, and I'll start first with my favorite vegetable or series of vegetables that you just can't go wrong with. And that is greens. You need greens for everything, every single eye structure. And by the way, there are, according to the American Optometric Association, there are over 267 diseases that can be detected through the eyes. And so those things that affect the eyes also affect the system. So if you're inflamed in your body, if you're inflamed in your eyes, you're also inflamed in the body. So one of the things I'd like to start with, because my mother is actually on this call, Dr. Ali Knight, is some of her old school. I want to go old school on this. And we can go back to maybe even the Great Migration. You know, when a lot of particularly Black people came from the South, straight up north. But prior to coming up north, many of them lived on farms or had gardens and depended pretty heavily on eating green leafy vegetables. And so the grandma and great grandma who ate collards and turnips and mustard and kale, they knew something that, you know, we seem to be missing today. I would add the one caveat, which is something that my mother has done, is to change the recipe up a little. So instead of using smoked pork, you can get the same delicious flavor and the nutritional benefits from the greens by changing that to using some of the things that like my mother substitutes, like celery and garlic. And if you're still eating meat, smoked turkey is a much better alternative. You can still get the benefits of the flavor, but you certainly maintain a lot of the nutrients. And you don't need to cook it and to the point where you don't, where you cook all the nutrients out of the vegetables. However, if you do tend to cook it a little bit longer, there's something called pot liquor, which I know you all know about. But you can also drink that because all the enzymes, all the vitamins, all the nutrients are still in that liquor. I also want to talk, and I speak about that in particular because I think it's really important for doctors and all healthcare practitioners to really be able to use what's called social determinants, and I'll just call it cultural nuances, and be able to meet patients where they are. So it's one thing to talk about a number of recipes or things nutrients that you should take, but if you can't make it in a way that the person understands or something that's relatable to them, then I think number one, they don't have confidence in you. And number two, you won't get the compliance from that person. So making sure that you take into account, if you, for instance, Dr. Johnson talked about curcumin, which is turmeric, essentially. If you're using turmeric, that's something else you can add to those greens. Add a little black pepper because turmeric is much more effective if it's used in combination with black pepper. So that's just another a little tip that you can take into your kitchen, essentially. The other thing is lifestyle is important. So mind, body, emotional, spiritual, all of those things are important for your nutrition. You cannot get the best nutrition if you don't have those foundational pieces in place. You must feed those as well. And part of that is using good social and sleep etiquette. So that means particularly in light of the environment we're in now with a lot of the fast and furious information that we're receiving politically right now, it's a good idea to maybe take some news fast pretty often, or as often as you need to, or regulate how much you're going to consume. The other thing is to shut down your digital devices at least an hour before you go to bed, or try to. I know I'm not the best at doing it myself, but it's very helpful because it allows the body to really reset. It allows the naturally occurring hormone melatonin to be able to kick in and to allow for a nice, peaceful, restful sleep so that you can be fully functional in the morning. And then if I had to choose my favorite vitamin or nutrient, I would say it would have to be magnesium. Like, I don't ever go to bed without my magnesium. And here's one of the reasons why. Magnesium is responsible for over 300 biochemical reactions in the body. There's hardly anything that takes place that you don't need magnesium for. And some of the best foods to get that from would be dark greens, beans, peas, nuts, avocado. And if you do have to slip this in, because sometimes around like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you get a little craving for chocolate or dark chocolate, it has magnesium in it. So maybe it's not really the chocolate you want. Maybe it's the magnesium that your body needs and it's signaling to you. So those are some of the top of mind ideas. For diabetes, I would throw in, make sure that you add cinnamon into the mix. That is also helpful for some blood sugar regulation, as well as the turmeric. And then there's something else that my mom used to feed us a lot when we were kids, and that's sardines. Sardines have gotten cool all of a sudden too, along the Mediterranean diet. You can grill them now, but we actually ate them out of the can. And sardines are loaded with omega-3 fatty acid. It's very helpful for the inflammation. So I will leave you with the fact that remember that we see with our brain. The eye is just a mechanism, a tool to bring the light rays in so that the message can be interpreted by the brain. So if the eye is inflamed, the brain is inflamed. And there's so many connections. Maybe in another conversation we can talk about that are closely related to what's now being called type 3 diabetes. I think Dr. Thompson may have alluded to that earlier too, but just something that we need to be really conscious of. Our body is interconnected. It's not divided into parts. And if one part is ailing, there are other parts in the body that are ailing as well. So thank you for the opportunity to have a little conversation with you today.
Thank you, Dr. Knight. I tell you, I need a little help here because, again, coming after Dr. Thompson, and I think Dr. Hitchman and Dr. Knight helped bring it. So thank you very, very much for that. So before we move into questions, again, if you're not in the Chi-Town to see me, or if you're not in New Hampshire to see Dr. Hitchman, how does someone find an eye care provider that practices the principles of salutogenesis? Well, again, we mentioned early on the Ocular Wellness Nutrition Society. Now they have a member locator on the website. It's ocularnutritionsociety.org, and you click on Find a Practitioner. I know I have family here in Denver, and one of our board members actually practices in the Colorado area. So that's one ready-made resource. And if not, just ask your eye care provider, do they have any recommendations specific for nutrition? I like to get specific, or can they give you a few little nuggets? But if they're just interested in which is better, one or two, or I don't know, just eat some vitamins and watch what you eat and send you on your way, that might not be the best provider that's looking at your overall health. So takeaway from this, you must have a healthy plan to keep your eyes healthy. So be specific about your plan. Dr. Thompson gave us some marching orders in terms of just adding 1 or 2 vegetables to your plate. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that as we go on. This is a whole series that's, I think, important. So, but you have to have a plan that's workable, that's realistic, and that's timely. Talk to my patients a lot about, well, what's your plan when they've been told that they were borderline for diabetes, or they've been told that they're now diabetic, or that they have high blood pressure. I said, outside of taking your medication, what is your plan to improve your health? So I want to thank everybody for being online. And now we're going to open this up to questions. But again, here's the website for the Ocular Nutrition Society and for our website, and also healthylivingwithavision.org is the website that you all got on and registered for. So you want to check our website periodically. We'll have updates as we go on. And as our theme verse from our office is, where there is no vision, the people perish. That's from Proverbs 29:18. So I want to thank my board of directors for giving us this opportunity. I want to thank Dr. Thompson for spearheading this project. And now love to, I'm going to turn this back over to Chanel, and she's going to field some questions if any of you all have questions of myself or my co-presenter.
Wow. Thanks, Dr. Johnson. I tell you, I got a plethora of information this evening. Dr. Hitchmoff, wow, I really enjoyed your presentation. And I will make sure that you get the presentation from Dr. Thompson. We had to edit it a little bit, but once it's done, I'll get your email and make sure that I get that over to you so that you can have. And then Dr. Knight, thank you. I've heard so much about you from your mom, because that's my sorority sister. So it's always good to see your face in person, and I look forward to speaking to you again. And we just love the fact that you gave us all of that information in regards to the greens and all of the things that are nutrient for us. And I too, I used to eat sardines because my mother made me do it, but you put a spin on it for us. But thank you. We thank you again. And Dr. Johnson, you already know how I feel about you. So
Thank you very much.
all right. So what I would like for you all to do, it's question and answer time right now. If you can go into your the chat, I'll start reading some of the questions that you put into the chat, or you can raise your hand and I'll try to pick you accordingly. So the first thing I see, I did see you, Ali, Soror Ali. Did you want to say something?
Yes, I wanted to know if these slides would be available for us.
They will be. We're recording this. We do a little bit of editing and we're gonna send it out. So I'll make sure that you get it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. I'm going to go to the chat real quick and I'm going to scroll through because there were some questions. I know that Watch Dominion, welcome Watch, asked, would turmeric interact with other medications like blood thinners? But the good thing about it is Dr. Knight answered that question and said turmeric can increase the risk of bleeding or bruising when on blood thinners. So check with your doctors first. Also, greens in large quantities could be problematic with bleeding on blood thinners. So she answered that question. Let me go down here. Karen asked, what's the best form of magnesium to use? Should it be chelated? So anybody want to answer that?
There's a lot of different types of magnesium, magnesium oxide, magnesium glycinate, a number of different types. Chelated may be more bioavailable. So I would say that that's probably would be a reason to use that. But double check and make sure that the quality is to Dr. Hitchmoth's point, is what says it is. You also want to make sure that you're using the right amount. And I would also recommend using it at a time period where you're not going to run into any digestive distress. So maybe at nighttime so that you can be productive in the morning, if you know what I mean. For men, the recommended dosage is 400 milligrams. And for women, it's 320 milligrams.
And I would add that depending on the specific condition you're looking to treat with magnesium will determine the form. And most people are deficient in magnesium, especially if you're over 50. There have been a number of studies that show that most people over the age of 65 are deficient in magnesium. So if you don't eat a lot of marine-based or ocean-based fish, it's possible you may be deficient. Another example is the International Headache Society recommends, in general, magnesium supplementation. And one of the better supplements for migraine headache, as eye docs, we see a lot of headache patients, is something called magnesium biglycinate. And they will loosen up the bowels. So be careful. How that works and how that happens is different for everybody.
I am putting in the chat also 2 reference books for, because I know Dr. Johnson asked me to give a few recipes. I think if you check with these books as resources, you can find those. I do want to share one recipe though in the spirit of greens. And that's a simple kale salad. And Dr. Thompson, you might have something you might want to add to this salad, but here's what I do. I wash the kale, chop it up. I put it into a baggie. I drizzle olive oil. I squeeze fresh lemon. I chop fresh garlic. I chop up apple, whatever your choice of apple, and or craisins. And then a little bit of walnut or pumpkin seeds. And you shake up the baggie and then just put it on your plate. It's delicious. And the lemon breaks down the kale so that it's not too, too tough. And it just makes it very delicious. So that's an easy thing to try. And it's very nutrient dense. So a little goes a long way.
Thank you for that. I might have to get that recipe from you so that I can share with everybody. So I might be reaching out to you, Dr. Knight, okay?
Happy to share.
All right. All right. Another question that we have is, let me see. Are multifocal lenses safe? My doctor told me that I can only get these if both my eyes need a new lens.
You're probably referencing a multifocal implants that are done with cataract surgery, when she said with a new lens. So there are some surgeons that will do multifocal lenses, but that's highly patient specific. So if you're to have cataract surgery and looking at that as an option, that depends honestly on the skill of the cataract surgeon.
Okay.
So again, that's a specific, not all of them do multifocal lenses or implants, but that's highly dependent on that. Now, again, I want to mention good nutrition, plant-based diet. We want to slow down that cataract progression. So if you've been told you have mild or early cataracts, now is the time, if you haven't started before, to try to eat a little healthy to slow that progress down. And then we talked about lutein and zeaxanthin. I do want to mention there's technologies out there that can measure the amount in the skin or on the finger or in the eye. It's not widely available because the technology is fairly expensive and there are not a lot of eye doctors that have it. But in the coming years, I think that equipment will be more and more prevalent in terms of actually measuring lutein and zeaxanthin on the skin and in the body. So that's will one day be a more of a standard in terms of measurement of your overall health. So I just wanted to throw that in there.
Okay. Thanks, Dr. Johnson. All right. Another question we had was for vegan patients, what do you recommend for omega-3 supplementation?
Well, as I mentioned before, there are flaxseed oils. There's liquid forms and there's powdered forms. You can sprinkle it on different dishes and all. So flaxseed is a good place to start.
I would
Okay.
add to that.
Mhm.
Omega-3 fats break down quickly in supplements. And so the best way to get omega-3s into your diet is to eat the foods that have the omega-3s. Cold pressed omega-3 supplements in a bottle with a dark glass that you can keep in the fridge will keep those fats from going rancid longer. If you open your bottle of supplements and it's real stinky, it's probably real bad. So you might think about that. But walnuts are one of the best omega-3 supplements that are generally available in most places in the United States and are generally recognizable as a food. And I put dark chocolate drippings on my walnuts, and hopefully I'll live forever because of that.
I love it.
Let me jump in here, Chanel.
Mhm. Yes.
And I agree. And first of all, excellent presentations, everyone. Thank you so much, doctors. Yeah, the omega-3, I agree. Very good sources are ground flax. You can get it from the oil too, but the oil can become rancid, and with oil you get a lot of calories. But if you deal with ground flaxseed, you are getting some of the lignans that are associated with which are healthy, and they are antioxidant, and you're getting a significant amount, like a tablespoon. Again, this is not prescriptive, but I'm just saying what has been mentioned, that about a tablespoon of ground flaxseed can get you a significant amount of omega-3. And as mentioned, walnuts, and realize the plants, kale is about 7% fat, and the majority of the fat in kale is omega-3. So eating a lot of those greens are going to get you some omega-3 too. I wouldn't hang my hat on it. And if you don't like that smell, that fishy smell, and you don't want a lot of more fish being killed for your omega-3, get the algae based. The algae base, you're not dealing with fish oil or the toxins that tend to concentrate in fixed oils, and you don't have to worry about rancidity. So I prefer, using the algae-based omega-3. And the other thing about magnesium, if you are really going further plant-based and you're eating a lot of the foods that Dr. Knight had mentioned, you can get some significant magnesium from your beans and from some grains, and generally that won't be a problem. But if your doctor, of course, says you need to take it, fine. And as I already mentioned, as you get older, you don't get as many of these nutrients. We see that a lot with B12 also, whether you're a vegan, vegetarian, or not. If you're over 50, B12 is something you should be also considering to take. And so I just want to jump in and say that. Thanks.
Thank you. Diane, I saw you had your hand raised. You want to go ahead and ask a question?
Yes, I had my hand raised because I'm technology illiterate,
That's
but
okay.
I
Do
couldn't
not.
find out where to send the message, and I usually do. But let me say greetings to my fictive niece, Dr. Knight. Good to see you. My question is, I have back issues, and someone recommended to me to use magnesium spray. So I have the magnesium spray. Will that serve the same purpose as taking a magnesium tablet, Dr. Knight?
So I think first I'd like to know the amount of magnesium you're getting in the spray. Because again, it's generally recommended that somewhere between the data says 320 milligrams, but I would say even 400 milligrams is sufficient. But if you're not getting that through the spray and you're only getting a portion of that, you may want to supplement to make up the difference. Or better yet, eat the greens, the green leafy vegetables. That's where you get a lot of the magnesium. Kale, Swiss chard, spinach, all of those have a significant amount of magnesium in them, including legumes and beans.
Okay, I will text you the
You
amount.
used to have my number.
Yep, yep.
All right. Got a couple more questions here. Let me read this. It says, outside of what you have already mentioned, what else is good to take to lower eye pressure? I've had 2 eye exams in the past year, and I don't have glaucoma, but my eye pressure remains high consistently. Is it safe to eat fully raw, no cooked food for a long period of time? Or do you feel that eating fully raw can heal your body from autoimmune diseases? Example, arthritis.
There's I welcome my colleagues to chime in on this. And there's a lot of other physicians on this call too, I notice, Dr. Macklin and others. But there's a concept called bioindividuality, which means essentially that each person's medicine or treatment is different depending upon their own body habitus, as well as their family history, their own history, what types of foods you ordinarily consume. And so it's difficult to say. But I will say that a raw food diet generally is very good at being able to reset the body, particularly if you have some inflammatory issues going on. I'm not sure whether or not it will work in every case for every person. And so that's something that should be monitored with your physician as you're going through this meeting.
I would say one note of caution with glaucoma. There are supplements that studies have shown will help support the nerve damage that happens as a result of glaucoma, but glaucoma is one of those conditions that you need to have traditional and also holistic approach, because especially in the African American population, glaucoma is a leading cause of blindness and there are no symptoms, and there are very few supplements or none that will actually lower the pressure, which is the primary treatment goal for glaucoma. So be very, very careful with glaucoma. Make sure you see your eye doctor. Go see Dr. Johnson, whoever your eye doc is, because that is a very specific condition. It can be visually devastating. Yes, you can take supplements, but you really need to have the right workup and have the right diagnosis, and a lot needs to come together to make sure that you maintain your vision. And vision loss is preventable in glaucoma. We have really, really good treatments. Sorry, I had to say that.
Nope.
And so if I can chime in with that, so the complementary care approach is definitely something that would be recommended. It's not going to be something that you're generally going to be able to do without any medications, but you can certainly help the medications be more effective, or in some cases, maybe you don't need quite as much if you're doing the other things. So there are some supplements that have been shown to work and have some promise. And those include something called resveratrol. I'll put it in the chat. Marine pine bark, CoQ10, and nitric oxide is one that's being explored right now for the neuroprotective benefits of keeping the optic nerve healthy and decreasing the inflammation in that area. There's still some more research that needs to be done, but I would say for the last 15 or 20 years, it's shown some promise. But again, you get nitric oxide from greens. So there you have it.
And then I'd like to add in some other thoughts in terms of glaucoma. We're talking nutrition and plant-based, but I also want to mention lifestyle. So there's a relationship between the fluid pressure inside the eye as well as the blood pressure. So if you have poorly controlled blood pressure, that can be detrimental to trying to control your glaucoma or your eye pressures. So I've had a patient a long time ago. She was a glaucoma suspect, and I was about to put her on glaucoma medications the next time I saw her because the pressures are elevated. And then I saw her pressures are low. And I said, what did you do? Have you done anything? She was actually started more cardio, exercise. So a lot of times people ask me, what can I do? And one thing that you can do is improve your cardiovascular health, again, with guidance from your physician. If you have hypertension that's not well controlled, try to get it under control. Doesn't mean if you have high blood pressure, you're going to get glaucoma, but there's a certain relationship between the blood flow and the optic nerve and your blood pressure. So it's all connected. So check with your physician, a cardiologist, and your cardiovascular health. Start trying to do some things to improve your cardiovascular health. Do it before you're told you have glaucoma. And but that's also another factor that weighs in on that.
Okay. I think it was one more question, but before we get to that, we do have a tip that Dr. Thompson wants to share with everybody. And all I can say to you guys is, Dr. Thompson, you came with it. Dr. Johnson, Dr. Hitchmoff, and Dr. Knight, you all just showed up and showed out. Chef Dom, you better come with it next week, okay? They're looking for you. And Dr. Miller, we got to set it out, right? We got a lot to set out here. So I'm excited, okay? This is getting better and better each and every time. So I'm so excited and so glad all of you guys had an opportunity to get on this call. Dr. Thompson, tell us about the tip for the week.
Yeah, I'll try to. I had actually a couple, but I'll stick with one because we've run past the hour point. Let me circle back a little bit and say, I thought when Diane had mentioned about the magnesium spray, the first thing that came to my mind, well, that's Epsom salts on steroids, right? But anyway, Epsom salts is it's magnesium. But anyway, that's what I thought about. And Larry, a lot of people that swear by some Epsom salts,
Yeah.
Anyway, for you in that bath. And anyway, and the other thing I wanted to mention was there was a question, well, there was a comment about eating raw, totally raw. I think you should eat a blend of food, some raw veggies, some cooked, because there are some vegetables that are actually healthier when cooked. Those
Right.
lycopenes, like with tomatoes and things like that, even though tomatoes are fruit. But there's some veggies you like, string beans, you want to cook, beans you want to cook, most grains you want to cook. So I think a blend is better instead of going all out to one direction, but that's my opinion. The tip was I'll just keep it simple with bananas. And if you don't like bananas, then you can daydream about something else. But the thing is, one thing I used to not like about bananas is they go bad on you, right? And you
Yeah.
buy a 6 or a batch of them. So one thing, and you all may know this, but for those that don't know, that little plastic waxy strip they put right at the tip of the top of the bananas, that's what preserves them from really ripening too fast. And a lot of us, I'm guilty of this. You get home and you take your first one out and you snare that thing, you snap it right off, right? But even if you should try to not do that, because the banana will be preserved longer unless you just like brown bananas. And there's something healthy about both sides of that fence. Green bananas have more resistant starch, so they're better for your colon and the microbiome, and they're less sugary. whereas the brown bananas are more sugary. So if you like the sugar taste, you're getting that plus some fiber, but less resistant starch. So there's advantages to both. And then if you do, despite that, find that you got the polka dot banana that's starting to go brown, putting in the refrigerator can sometimes preserve that a little more for you before it gets totally mushy and sugary. And the other thing is it makes great nice cream. Now, nice cream is ice cream made from bananas. And some people think, well, I don't want the banana flavor. But when you have it chilled, it's like just like ice cream. I mean, I was missing ice cream when I went totally plant-based. And then I discovered you can throw bananas in the blender, and it's best to chop them up before you put them in the freezer, because you throw a whole frozen brick banana in the blender and that's not going to go over well. But if you do them, slice them up, put them in the freezer, that's your ice cream. Add some cacao to it, a little vanilla extract, and you got your sugar already in the banana. Or you can add some strawberries to it. You make a strawberry shake. Anyway, that's my tip, because you got to have some things you can go to. So I'm going to keep that where it lies, and I'm going to give you the other half of this tip I was going to give you on some other veggies and how to preserve them next time when we're with the chef. And I know, I'll tell you right now, the Chef Dom's going to bring it on.
You're going to bring
He's
it.
going to bring it. He's going to bring it. And so is
Okay.
Dr. Miller. So you all should not miss these next two. All right.
That's
Thank you.
right.
Great presentations, folks.
Great
Fantastic.
presentations. We are so excited and happy that you all were able to get on and share all of this wonderful information. So again, don't forget, we're going to do the Meatless Monday, and we're going to try the Lentil Taco Tuesday.
And
So I
Chanel,
look forward to, huh?
Before you end up, I'm going to take a CEO privilege here.
Absolutely.
This presentation would not be possible without the contributors of our board of directors, our speakers, but we also rely upon your financial support. So if you think this is worthwhile, if you think this is worth some membership or some online program, go to our website, go into donations, whatever you can, whatever you feel this is worthwhile for you, and give a donation to Healthy Living with a Vision. To do the emails, prepare the notices online, social media, the videos that are produced, to really market this, to edit the videos that you all will all have access to after we've done this. There's a cost to that. So we need your support so we can actually grow our exposure, so we can grow our audience. Again, we have Dr. Hitchmont from New Hampshire. We have Dr. Thompson in California. We have some folks from Texas, and some of my cousins, which I'm not going to mention. Anyway, I couldn't help that. But anyway, I want to just mention that we look for your support. If you think it's worthwhile, drop a dime on us, and I will turn this back over to. Oh, and also one last thing: if you're looking for a provider in your area, the Ocular Wellness and Nutrition Society, please look at the website and see if you can find a practitioner in your area. All right, Chanel.
Okay. All right.
Dr.
So,
Johnson, let me just say thank you for doing your job, because it is our goal to reach as many people as we possibly can. And we need support from the community.
yes,
Thank
we
you.
do. Yes, we do.
So,
Thanks, Diane. Again, thank you all for coming out and spending your evening with us, dedicating this time to work on your health, to work on your eating, and just being a better version of yourself. You won't regret it. I guarantee you that. Please come back next week with Chef Dom. I'm excited to hear what you got, Chef Dom. I really am. But please, and tell a friend, let them know about what we're doing. It's not too late to register. We got 2 more weeks, and then we'll have a recap that final 5th week, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll give you more information. We're going to edit these videos and get them out to you, because it doesn't have to stop here. We want to keep this growing, as we said before, nationally. So have a good evening. Be well until next week. Bye.
hey, how's it going, Frat? What's up?
How you feeling, bro? Good
Thanks
show.
for joining.
Oh, no problem.
Bob. Okay.
Enjoy myself.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Yep.